Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Coach Me Plus. Coach Me Plus is the leader in athlete management software and a product that we've been lucky enough to implement here for over 2 years now. The product in and of itself is exactly what you need it to be, guys, with options ranging from being a workout provider, as in sending the workout directly to the student athletes' phones, to being a place where you can communicate with them and bring together multiple streams of data to be its own dashboard for you, your coaching staff, or the athletes. Or you can use what we've added to our menu of Coach Me Plus activities, and that's the hydration station, where all of this information that is provided is based off of research from the Corey Stringer Institute, where we're looking at weighing in versus weighing out and then providing optimal hydration strategies for the student athletes by them selecting through the menu and tapping on what they'll take home with them and what they're consuming prior to the next practice when all the numbers at the top are lined up green. It's something we've had really good success with and the kids have really bought in on. Just another great example of the awesome product that you can find at CoachMePlus.com. Guys, hop over to CoachMePlus.com today and check it out. It's a product I guarantee you won't be disappointed with. Hey everybody, if you enjoy the podcast and the content it provides, be sure to hop over and check out the community. The community is an exclusive members website that is just an extension of what we do here in July at the Central Virginia Sport Performance Seminar. What it is a combination of video lectures, a coach's corner with your Monday morning take-home information, and a forum where you can talk about anything and everything related to the field of strength and conditioning. In the community, you'll find content added each month from some of the top practitioners in the world, ranging from PhDs to high-level coaches, bringing you exactly what they're doing with their athletes or their research at the present moment. On top of that, an additional discussion by coaches bringing you that Monday morning information, things that you can add to your training program right away. Tying that in with the opportunity to discuss with coaches around the world in the forum on anything and everything from the topics addressed in these presentations to whatever you're seeing in your daily life as a coach. If this sounds like the right thing for you and your staff, go ahead and hop over to cvasps.com/community and try it out for 48 hours for just $1. If you like it, you're signed up, ready to roll, and you're jumping into all the great content added each month. If not, feel free to go ahead and cancel at any time. No questions asked. We're really excited about what we're building in the community and hope you are too. Go ahead and hop over to cvasps.com/community and check it out today. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today, guys, we are talking long-term athletic development with Jeremy Frisch. Guys, Jeremy is going to talk to us about where his plan came from, how he's developed a long-term athletic development model up there in Massachusetts, and we're going to get into everything they're doing up there at Achieve Performance, to how he breaks down the program piece by piece and step by step, including all of his progressions, regressions, and how maturity and physical development impact how they're programming. Guys, this is an absolutely fantastic talk. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Let's get right to it. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, man.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, bud. So listen, for the person or two listening that doesn't know who you are, how about we give them the Cliff Notes intro real quick?
Sure. So my name's Jeremy Frisch. I live up here in Clinton, Massachusetts. I have my own facility called Achieve Performance Training, and prior to that, I was college strength and conditioning coach with Jeff Oliver up at Holy Cross. So I kind of been in the private and the college arena as well. What else? I coach youth sports too. So I coach youth football. Not very good youth football coach, but I love it. Coach youth basketball, coach youth baseball, and I even tried my hand a year in coaching youth lacrosse. So I got 4 kids, all under 10. So it's pretty crazy, having them around, but it's also nice to be able to be with them and coach them and stuff like that. So that's pretty much week to week what I'm dealing with is my facility, and my kids and their sports and coaching.
And then once a week you get to sleep for an hour.
Once a week I get to sleep. Yep. I got a couch in my office at the gym, and I use that. I use that a lot.
I love it. A hustler. I freaking love it. So Jeremy, we were just talking before. You guys got some interesting stuff going on up there when we're talking about a long-term athletic development model, a unique one. Let's talk
Yep.
about where that idea came from and where it's going, because this is something that seems to be a sexy topic right now, but I don't think
Yep.
coaches really have an idea of what they're trying to do.
Sure. So I think for me, obviously having kids probably started this thinking, because I wanted them to have access, and I wanted them to be able to be exposed to, certain, not just training, but, just enough movement as they're growing up. So they're, when they do get older, whether they play sports or not, they want to be competent movers so they can go out and do fun stuff and not be stuck, hurt or out of shape or overweight or any of those things. So I wanted to start them off on the right foot. I think years ago, I noticed maybe some late middle school, high school athletes, even college athletes, when they first started training, I felt like I had trouble getting those athletes to do the things I want them to do. And my thoughts were, well, obviously you can try to do things to do corrective exercise, things like that. But my thoughts were like, I wish I had these guys earlier. I wish I had them years before to teach them these things. So when the time is right and you do want to start a more organized training program, they'll be ready to go. And so that's kind of where that whole line of thinking started. And the more I started looking into it, I went to school for phys ed. And so basically for me, it was just going back and looking over the things that I learned in college. And there's a great book, not Science of Sports Training, Children in Sports Training, and by Joe Drabick, and it talks a lot in that book about, coordination development. And, though coordination development is best kind of exposed to children between the ages of like 4 and 12. So I was like, that's where I need to be. That's who I need to be working with. These are the things that we need to be doing with kids. They don't get enough of it. I think my kids have phys ed once every 8 days. Right. So
Wow.
I think, yeah. So the kids, the school is doing a great job of teaching kids how to write and read and do all those things. But phys ed's kind of fallen by the wayside. When we were kids, I had gym 3 times a week. I had recess 3 times a day. We had opportunities to move, when we were kids, so much more than kids do now. And then on the other side of it is kids are getting involved in sports at younger and younger ages. You can start playing football at like 5 or 6. You can start playing soccer at like age 4. So kids are getting into organized sports way before they're even ready, coordinated enough, athletic enough to be able to figure out how to really be good at those sports. Now, they understand, they figure it out. They do get better because you practice anything, you get better. But down the line, there's no foundation to stand on. There's no platform for them to get better. They kind of just have these skills at this one sport, and they don't really have the athleticism to go along with it. Because, like, at a certain point when kids start to grow up, right, there's not only the sports skill that you need, but there's a certain physicality that comes with every game. I mean, soccer, basketball, football, baseball, you name it, like the big, strong kids, those are the kids that survive. And so I think I see a lot, especially being in like the youth game, like coaching all these different sports. I see a lot of kids coming up through the system playing different sports. They might be big and strong as just naturally big and strong kids, but then they get to a point where, everyone catches up, So I think it's really, in this country, it's like, they learn sports first, and then later on we try to catch up with the strength and conditioning stuff.
Yeah.
So with me, I'm like, well, I want to teach this stuff right away. I want kids to start off on the right foot. If we can't just do that first, because I know kids aren't going to stop playing sports when they're young, but maybe we can simultaneously develop athleticism and, at the same time as they develop their sports skills. So, this year coaching youth football, like 5th and 6th graders, we would spend, a good 15, 20 minutes of every practice in the beginning doing strength and conditioning stuff, like good warm-ups, coordination skills, skip, hop, shuffle, jump, roll. We do those things prior to every practice before we start hitting and doing passes and, all the football stuff that you typically do in practice. We spend a period where we do athletic stuff. And come to find out, I was just kind of doing this stuff on my own, but USA Football has been really trying to push that for the past few years as well.
Oh,
So I kind of got connected with USA Football and Andy Ryland, who works with those guys, and Joe Eisman.
Great
those
guy.
guys, yeah, and they're really trying to do that. And I saw that, and I'm like, wow, this is great, because that stuff really excites me. Being able to connect, football and strength and conditioning together on the field or even in the gym. How can we do both things? How can we work on technique? How can we work on being in better position, not only just athletic position, but also using that as a platform to get in better football position, or basketball position, whatever it is whatever sport we're working with. So that's where I think I'm really heading, as far as like, how can we bridge the gap between youth sports and youth training?
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. So let's get into it.
Yep.
What are you guys doing? What's it looking like? How are you breaking it down? Because this is not a small project.
No, it's not. So, I have my son, who's 4, who's a nut. He's the youngest one out of my 4 kids. So he's probably the youngest kid who comes down here. But we have a group of kids that start, kind of in kindergarten. So kindergarten's first grade, second grade, and that program goes twice a week. Okay. And that group, it's, we set up, it's not really coaching. It's more like, let's do this. Let's play this game. Let's play that game. But the idea is to get those kids through the games and through the activities we do into the different positions we want. So, for example, I set up an obstacle course, right? And I'm asking these kids to duck under a hurdle. Well, every time they duck under a hurdle, they're squatting. They don't know that. No one else knows that, but I know it. You know it, right? If I set up a low barrier where the kids have to crawl under it, well, they're doing bear crawls. I don't have to teach them. They're just going to automatically crawl under that. You know what I mean? We play games where we play tag, but you have to play tag on one foot. So you're hopping around. So you're getting great stability, coordination, development on one leg. We do different things, just like I have the kids jump up on the bars and who can hang the longest, through grip strength, things like that. Those are all things that kids love, different activities that they totally get into, and they just having fun. But in back of my mind is we're doing, we're training their bodies to be to be stronger, more resilient, faster, whatever it is. Really, at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is I want a more coordinated kid.
100%. I love this.
Yeah.
As a PE teacher myself, a PE major, yep. I love this.
Yeah. So, and I think they don't get it. They're not getting it anywhere else. No. The only other thing those kids do, I know for a fact, the only other activities those kids do is maybe recess for a half hour a day. And then, whatever sport their parents got them involved in. But that, it's very organized and it's very get in line and do this drill or that drill. So I know what we're doing is totally not organized. It's wide open space. We run around, we chase each other. We play dodgeball. We play all the old games that we used to do. So that's where we start at that age. We have another group of kids that come in a couple of days a week that are a little bit older. So it's basically 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. And here, this is where we start to introduce things. We do a normal warm up. We warm up doing skips and like your basic stuff that I would do with even the colder kids or college kids. We would do high knees. We would do, backwards runs, just basic movement skills, warming up, things like that. We start to teach them how to get in position. We teach them how to squat, how to reach, how to lunge. We do those things kind of rudimentary. Sometimes it works great. Depends on who you're working with. Cause again, that age, they're still wanting to just rip around and have fun and get after it. They don't really want to be held down and say, oh, we're going to do this exercise. They don't think in those terms. So with that group, one of the things we really, really do a lot of is set up obstacle courses. So the thing I love about obstacle courses is that every single obstacle, they have to kind of figure out how to get over it, how to get under it, how to climb on it. So we basically set it up and we just let them, we don't really teach them. We just let them kind of figure out how to make their way through it. And what I love about it is the way I try to set it up is that you have to do these different exercises. So we have this thing where it's like a lunge, but we call it an animal, monster walk. And so the kids have to like get really low and walk into like a low lunge area, a low lunge position. We set up, like I was saying before, we set up a barrier where the kids have to get on their belly and do like a army crawl. We set up hurdles where they have to duck under and jump over. We have barriers where they have to work on vaulting, where they come over and use their hands to like lift their feet over. We have this system, it's called the patch, and it's basically these planks, different platforms and planks that all attach together in different, you can set up in so many different ways. But the kids have to bear crawl on them. They have to crab walk on them. They can jump over them. They can jump off them. Talk about like altitude drops that you might do. You might read in like super training. We got kids doing those all day in there because we're setting up the obstacles where they have to go flying, leaping off different heights of platforms. And every time a kid lands, they got to kind of figure out how to land. Some kids can land and stick a landing. Some kids land and roll because they kind of figured that out. Other kids, so it gives them an opportunity to try to figure out how to move. And there's, I just kind of, when they do come in, I let them kind of go through the obstacle course as many times as they want. I don't really tell them like, oh, we're going to do this many times, or we're going to, you got to do this many reps. We just kind of let them go, and they rest when they want to rest, and they go when they want to go. So it's really, for me, the obstacle course, people look at it as like, oh, it's just fun. But the way I try to set it up, I want them to learn movement skills while they do it. And obviously conditioning as well, which is important at their age because, let's be honest, they're sitting in school all day. They're not getting anything done as far as, metabolic type work.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's exciting. The kids are nuts. It's a lot of energy in the room. And the way, and what's really funny too is like when the younger kids are in there, right? Every now and then, like I'll set up an obstacle course, and like a high school kid will come over and be like, "Hey, coach, you think I can get in on this?" Because they're still kids, so they want to try to do that stuff and race each other, and it's great because everyone in the gym kind of gets excited for that stuff.
I love it. I love it. Now let's talk about the kids as they start aging up even more. So now you're up to high school-ish, middle school, high school age kids. And
So we go 6th, 7th, 8th grade, even freshmen. So that's another group, and those guys. And this is where we really start to organize training, right? So they're going to come in. We're going to spend the first probably 45 minutes of our training session doing, plyometrics. We're going to do, or jump training. We're going to do medicine ball work. We're going to do core work. We're going to still do, I do a lot of warm-ups where we're still doing, somersaults and rolls. We're stepping over and ducking under hurdles. We're still bear crawling. I kind of try to keep some of the things we do with the kids, but I shift it towards the warm-up so the kids don't ever lose that type of activity, and the kids, because that's the thing too. I think once those kids start to hit their growth spurt and they grow, so they start to really sprout up, everything in their life kind of changes and they don't do kid stuff anymore. And I think for us, it's the same thing in the gym. Like, all right, well, you're old enough now, you're mature enough now, you're going to do more organized, typical strength and conditioning. And I'm like, well, maybe we should somewhere, in their training, keep the stuff that they used to do when they were younger kids. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I shift that stuff over and we warm up with it. We're going to do a small obstacle course to warm up. Or like I said, we'll get on the mats and do, forward rolls. We'll do backward shoulder rolls. We'll do multiple direction, bear crawls or crab walks in multiple directions. Other things like I call floor work, where we're doing like different type of, like you're basically in a bear crawl position, but you're lifting, your hand and feet off the ground and trying to touch in the middle. So different like coordination type exercises that allow kids to kind of really have to work and cross the midline of the body, things like that. So we do all that stuff still. We just take 10 minutes and do it in the beginning. And then after that, we start to teach kids how to like do mobility work, and we stretch. We do, like I said before, plyometrics. We'll do med ball work. We start to get into just basic acceleration work. We just get them in a good athletic position and try to teach them how to accelerate and use their arms and put force into the ground and all stuff like that. And then that'll usually take, like I said, about 30 to 45 minutes. And then from there, we hit strength training, right? So depending on the kid, depending on how mature he is, depending on what level he's at as far as like physically, mobility, we look at him and how he moves, we'll start teaching him basic strength exercises, whether it's just a body weight squat or a goblet squat. Some kids can come in and I got a 7th grade girl and she does power cleans and chin ups. And I mean, she trains like some of the college guys do because she's pretty athletic and she picked up everything so fast. Other kids, there's a kid that comes in who's also in 7th grade, hasn't hit his growth spurt yet. He's got ADHD, so his ability to kind of keep on task is kind of, he doesn't always stay on task when we ask him. So he's doing more stuff like the younger kids where he's like doing monkey bars. I got him doing somersaults. I have him push a sled. He loves pushing the sled. So I just try to find like each kid's, obviously every kid at that age is developing at different rates. Every kid's kind of unique at that age. And we're at a period, I think we're in a time period where, kids have different issues, whether it's ADD, ADHD, things like that, where you have to kind of figure out what's gonna make them want to be here and put the effort in and not get bored or want to go do something else. So I really try to figure that out with those, especially that age, because they're changing so much. There's so much going on upstairs, So and I'll tell you what, training wise, I would say that's probably my favorite age group to work with because you can teach them so much and do so much with them during that time period. And then after that, it's high school and beyond. We have some college kids, not a ton, but we usually get like in the area, we get like some Division III, Division II kids who come in and train with us. And that kind of brings me back to what I did when I was working in the college level. So, and I love it too. It's different. It's different. It's more organized and those kids are there to work hard. And so you shift gears from, like trying to figure out how to have fun with the kids and then to being more serious and having to push the kids. So that's kind of achieved performance through the years.
I love it. Progressive with checks and balances built in and still the ability to allow those who are going to be the outliers in a positive or a negative sense to move forward or be regressed in a meaningful manner that's going to allow them to continually develop.
Sure. That's what we try to do. And like I was saying, the biggest issue with young kids is trying to figure out maturity wise where they're at. Because you can look at a kid and he might be in 7th grade, but maturity wise, he might only be in emotionally, he might be a 4th grader. Right. So this kid might be a tank. He might be knocking kids around the football field. And then you yell at him and he, not yell at him, but you get on his case, you try to push him, or maybe he's being a pain in the butt, and you say something to him, and he's over in the corner, kind of like upset and crying because emotionally he just hasn't developed. Because kids develop these psychologically, emotionally, physically, they develop at different rates, right? So part of working with kids is trying to figure out where those kids are at. You might have a kid who's physically not even close, right? He might be 6th grade, but he might be a 4th grader, but he might be smart as a whip, and emotionally he might be, sound and resilient. So what do you do with that kid? Well, physically he's not that strong yet, but he'll listen to you and he'll do what you tell him and he'll work hard. So it takes each kid's like kind of a different, like I said, they're unique. So you got to kind of figure out where they're at and go from there.
I love it, man. I really do. And and this is something that I think Jeff Oliver is a guy that is on my list of coaches that I need to meet because I'll tell you, man, the people, he's one of those guys that like quietly has a tree of people that are doing amazing things. Like people that have worked with him or under him. And this is a prime example of this. I mean, and now the scariest thing is I live in a state where I have kids who are in a top 10 in the country swim program coming to me trying to use our dryland sessions as take-home gym. You heard that right. Take home. How do you take gym home? Like, I can't
Right.
get a kettlebell on a flight. How are you taking gym home?
Right.
And we wonder why these kids need all these drugs because they can't pay attention, or like why we've got people that weigh 500 pounds and you can't get them to walk downstairs anymore.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So Jeff actually, it's kind of funny. He runs a summer program. So when I was working for him, so he has a lot of middle school and high school kids who come up during the summertime and at Holy Cross, and he decided to start like a little kids program. He's like, "What do you think? You want to take? You want to do it?" I'm like, "I'll take those kids." So first thing in the morning, I would have like 12, 15, like 8 to 11-year-olds, and you know, I kind of was working at that time. I'm much better now, but kind of the seat of my pants, I was just making stuff up on the fly with that program. But I loved it so much, and I really started to like think to myself, well, maybe what I really want to do is to work with this age group more than, not that I don't love working in the college setting, but I think maybe I could do my best job and do the best, what I can give kids and give back to the industry is with this age level. So that's kind of where it started too.
I love it. I love it.
So
now,
yeah, it's a blast.
Where do you see this going? How do you see this evolving?
Well, I think that the thing for me with where like I was saying before, I was working really hard with trying to figure out how we can get the word out to sport organizations about teaching coaches, which is tough, right? Because most of the coaches are mom and pop coaches, right? How can we get the word out, or how can I get the word out to coaches or organizations and teach them how they can implement some of this stuff in practice, right? In sport practice. Because ultimately those kids, that's what they're really doing. I see kids twice, 2 or 3 times a week, but some of these kids are at their sports practice 3-4 times a week, and they're there all year round. You know what I mean? Or even if they're changing sports, how can we get these organizations to teach coaches to do more athletic type stuff with their athletes rather than just working on sports skill? I think that's where we can really make a difference. And how do we do that? I don't know. I know I'm doing it with my kids, the teams that I coach, and then I try to put it in to the other parents and coaches that I know that are working with other teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just tiny, right? It's in my town. How can I get it out wider? So that's why I think working with USA Football and trying to connect with those guys, because they have such a huge, their platform's huge. Using that to get the word out to help coaches,
100%.
be able.
And this is exactly what Dr. Joe is talking about.
Yep.
Every conversation I've had with him about this topic, when you talk to him, I can only imagine how much he lit up. Because I can't imagine this doing anything other than getting him rolling.
Yep. And we've gone back and forth on it. And then last week I was talking to Andy Ryland, and him and I were going back and forth about some he had these ideas about using some wrestling techniques where, things like just hand fighting and shoulder fighting and pummeling and things that you would use in wrestling. How can we use those as a platform to start to teach contact drills to young kids, right? Because I know there's this big school of thought with football, like, oh, you don't need to teach the kids don't need to play contact till they're older, which is fine. I get it. But if the kids are playing contact when they're younger, we better be teaching those kids how to tackle.
Oh, 100%.
We better be teaching them how to tackle with the best form possible.
Oh, I could not agree any more with that.
Right. And part of that is getting kids comfortable, and not only tackling, but blocking as well.
Mm-hmm.
Getting kids comfortable in close quarter. And it's not combat, but in close quarters.
Right.
Getting kids comfortable, pushing each other, pulling each other, using their hands, using their legs. So I think some of those wrestling drills that are around are a perfect way to be able to do that, you know. So him and I were going back and forth, and I posted a little video with his permission on Twitter. You know, guys were pumped for it. They were loving it. And it was just like my son, who's 10, working with the wrestling coach, doing some of those drills and some of the things that you can do, which are really simple, which you could easily put into a practice period. You know, so and you don't want to know what, some of those things you can do at basketball, you know, or just change it a little bit to teach kids how to box out. You know, just get kids to be able to understand where their bodies need to be and not be scared of contact, and to teach them how to be aggressive, you know?
Right.
So I think working with an organization like that is huge, because it can spread out to everyone, and we can get videos out, and coaches can see it, and it becomes kind of like an idea. You know, you can help set up kind of a practice plan and implement all these different things. So that stuff right now is really, really like getting me excited. That's kind of where my brain is at these days. So,
and it should be, man, because this is awesome stuff. And, you know, just to piggyback that, like, as a guy who grew up as a hockey player, like,
yep,
you got to know how to hit and how to be hit if you're going to understand what it means, you know, because as soon as you cower out a little bit or you fold a little bit, man, that's when you get messed up.
Sure. And I said before, like, there's that point at some age, whether it's like 11, 12, 13, 14, where physicality takes over, the physicality of the game, especially hockey. I worked a couple of years at a facility down the road. I kind of like was going back and forth between my facility and there. There's a huge ice arena in the next town over. And so I got to work with a bunch of the hockey teams in there. And that was one of the things, like, I try to like get across to, especially the kids who were kind of turning into teenagers, like, they play a lot of hockey, you know, and sometimes the kids would come in and not want to do what I wanted them to do. And so I had a few times sit them down. I'm like, fellas, listen, like, I'm not here to, like, I don't want to scream and yell at you. I just want you to listen to me. If you guys love hockey and you want to keep playing, there's going to come to a time where you're going to have to be aggressive and physical, or someone's going to take you out, you know? And I was like, this is where you get it done, right? This is where it starts. You start to put the foundation in now to get stronger, to be able to handle what you're going to be going up against in the next few years. And so they were like, yeah, you know, they start to figure it out. They get it, you know? That's why I say any of those sports, lacrosse too, same thing. You know, I think that sport as well. I worked with my kid. One of my sons played for a year, so I helped coach. And when I watched the older kids, it was definitely like the kids who are more physical and aggressive. Those are the kids who really did well. And the kids that were, you know, not physically prepared, they fell by the wayside. You know, it's no wonder why so many kids drop out of sports at like around age 12, 13.
Right.
Just think if they were more athletic and stronger and a little bit faster, just general athletic qualities, they would probably, you know, stick with it longer.
No doubt. Jeremy, this is awesome. Where can people find out more about you and what you're doing, and they can get involved with this?
You know, my social medias, I feel like I meet everyone on there as far as coaches now. It's such a great platform to be able to exchange ideas and connect with people. So, you know, Twitter, I pretty much, my Twitter account is, everything is just the long-term athletic development. You know, I try to put all the stuff that I'm doing with the kids and the kind of direction we're going. I try to put that on there. So that, and then, so I think it's just under my name. It might be under Achieve Performance, but I'm pretty sure it's just Jeremy Frisch. And that's probably one of the best ways, but you know, Instagram as well. I have an Achieve Performance account where we post our videos of our athletes training, even some of our adults, the things, again, we're doing with the kids. You know, I just think, you know, it's funny for me. Sometimes I look back like a year ago and try to see what I was doing. And I'm like, oh man, I totally forgot. Like, I think you learn so much as a coach, and if you coach a lot, you do a lot of sessions, you sometimes come up with new stuff and you forget what you were doing before. And so I like to go back and see those things, like kind of what we were doing last year and the year before that. So it's like I said, it's exciting. I think this day and age we can exchange a lot of ideas, even doing podcasts like this. You and I can talk and really get the word or get the ideas, the things that I'm trying to do out to other people. And then when other people hear it, they get back to me and ask me questions and have ideas. And that's just like awesome because it just kind of spreads everywhere.
100%.
I love it.
I 100%. And listen, man, keep fighting the good fight because this is important and it's really awesome what you guys are building up there. And it's, I love it, dude. And I can't thank you enough for the time and being so open and honest and candid in your sharing with what you guys are putting together. This is fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, man. We'll be in touch really soon. Thanks a bunch, Jeremy.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a huge thank you to Jeremy Frisch for giving us that inside look into everything awesome that they're doing up there at Achieve Performance in Massachusetts. Guys, like, we talk about the necessity of this long-term athletic development model, and we've got a guy out there in the front lines working his tail off to build it for us and just open and honestly sharing every aspect of it. I cannot thank Jeremy enough for just an absolutely fantastic breakdown of what they're doing. And guys, as always, if you enjoyed the talk, please share it through the social media outlet of your choice, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. And as always, guys, if you know anyone that could benefit from the information provided on the podcast, share the episode with them. Email them a link, DM them a link, tag them on it, tweet it at them, whatever it may be. Again, we're just trying to get the best information possible out there to all the fantastic coaches that are involved with Central Virginia Sport Performance. And as always, guys, thank you for everything that you do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We will be back next week with another awesome guest. We will see you then.